Hey friendos, what's going on? Welcome back to the Four Lights Podcast. My name is Steve here, and once again, as always, I'm joined by Big Jeff. Big Jeff, how you doing?
Great. How you doing?
Awesome. I'm doing fantastic because we're moments after recording our last podcast.
It's mere moments.
We just do these and then we just send them out into the world. All right, so today on the Four Lights Podcast, we are talking about the Star Trek Next Generation episode, Code of Honor. We are going to get the obvious out of the way first. And when I speak about the obvious, I'm speaking about the obvious, weird, problematic racial overtones that is just thick as can be in this episode.
This episode is plagued by racism and cultural insensitivity.
Yeah.
At every turn.
It's here's the thing. We're going to talk about that stuff to start the episode so we don't have to continually go back to it during our plot breakdown.
Yeah.
Because if we did, we'd be here all day long.
Oh, yeah.
So we're just going to mention it at the beginning, and then we'll just talk about the episode. Even if that wasn't a massive problem, it's still a shit episode.
Not good.
It's still
not
a
remotely
bad
good.
episode.
Yeah, bad episode.
And I'm not the best at putting into words the problems that this episode has. So I found a couple reviews of this episode. There is an article online from a website called The Den of Geek. It's a fellow by the name James Hunt. And his rundown, I'm going to quote it right now. I will leave a link in the description if you want to read the review fully. But I felt like this breakdown was probably the most appropriate, and I felt that it put into words the problems that this episode had. So the episode dealt with a race of people called the Ligonians. And here I'm quoting James Hunt from Den of Geek. The Ligonians are a race of black people speaking in thick East African accents who appear to be ruled by their own sexual appetites. Every male Ligonian sports a facial scar, they all dress in tribal garments, and their culture is primitive yet, quote, noble. They have a rigid code of honor, after all. Yes, it was the 80s, but surely, even then, the idea of the noble savage was recognized as both condescending and racist. Indeed, it must have been, because the director of the episode was reportedly fired partway through the making of it due to creative problems. Given that the script did not call for the Ligonians to be black, it's not hard to imagine what those creative problems were. To piggyback on top of that, Jonathan Frakes, Commander Riker himself, at a 2007 science fiction convention in Toronto, Canada, he told the audience, the worst and most embarrassing, and one that even Gene would have been embarrassed by, was that horrible racist episode from the first season, Code of Honor, oh my God, in heaven. Brent Spiner called it the worst episode we ever did, and an inadvertently racist episode. I'm not sure it was inadvertent. Code of Honor was just a racist episode. Maybe not intentionally, but it felt that way, and it looked that way. It was the third episode, so it was fortuitous that we did our worst that early on, and it never got quite that bad again. Wesley Crusher, Will Wheaton, said, if the cast wasn't arbitrarily decided to be African American, the idea of the episode being racist or non-racist wouldn't have been an issue, but they were, so that's why it was. Michael Dorn, Worf wasn't even in this episode, but he, at a 2013 Toronto Comic-Con panel, referred to this episode as the worst episode of Star Trek ever filmed. And apparently, LeVar Burton was not proud of the episode either. So, yeah, that's what I'm going to say about that. What are your thoughts about it?
I mean, I don't remember watching this episode. So it's the first time that I had seen it probably in a couple decades.
Yeah.
I probably haven't watched it since the 90s.
Yeah, I think, yeah.
Since I was in high school. And I didn't think that there would be something that would make me more uncomfortable than the Naked Now. Like coming off of that and being
Right,
like, wow,
yeah.
there's a lot of sexual harassment in this episode. I don't feel like this is comfortable Star Trek watching.
Yeah.
I don't like this. And then rolling into this one, I was like, oh, maybe this will be all right. And then it quickly was not all right.
Yeah.
I was like, oh boy.
They like the Ligonians show up. So the backstory is this. The Enterprise, there is some nasty plague somewhere that's like threatening to kill lots of people, and they need a vaccine. The Federation needs a vaccine. They sent the Enterprise to go get a vaccine from the Ligonians, and they have to deal with their leader, Lutan. And so they show up, and like the thing says, they've got this ceremonial sort of garb on. It's gaudy as hell. They roll out this little mini red carpet for their leader, and he starts talking like this. And it's immediately bad.
Yeah.
It's like, oh my God. The fact that the script didn't call for them to be African American or for it to be cast by African Americans or black actors is like, I don't know. I'm really fascinated to know where the disconnect is. Because if they weren't all black actors, it would just be a bad episode.
Yeah.
But because, the fact that they are all black actors, and Lutan, and the idea that they're stunned that a woman can be head of security, that the women control the land and the men protect the land, it's just
that's in Ligonian society.
Yeah.
Women own and control the land, and men are just there to protect it. So they're stunned that Tasha Yar, as a woman, would be head of security.
Right.
And ostensibly Picard owns the ship.
Yeah.
Because he's the captain.
So it's all very problematic, and
Yeah.
and it's really uncomfortable to say the least. But anyways, so yeah, that's the deal. Let me get to the actual plot breakdown here. Okay, so yeah, they show up. Enterprise makes contact with them. They're surprised that Tasha is head of security. Lutan's head of security, I think his name is Hagen?
Hagar?
Hagar? Is it Hagar? Hagen? I thought I said it Hagen. Anyways, he is the one who grabs like the vaccine. He's going to bring it to Picard and give it to him. And Tasha says, hold on a second. I want to make sure there's nothing shady about that. And he's like, get out of my way, woman. And then she flips him around and basically checks his ass physically.
Yes.
And that really, surprises and impresses Lutan, who just saw his right-hand man, his security guy, get, thrashed by a woman which he had never seen before. He immediately really is into Tasha Yar. That sets up the plot of the episode. That's our intro. First scene of the actual episode shows Picard. He's trying to wine and dine Lutan in exchange for like a big batch of the vaccine so everybody can, be okay. He gives him a horse from China's Sung dynasty. To their credit, this was not some African art.
Yeah.
I am actually kind of surprised.
Well, I would propose that being in the script suggests that maybe the race of aliens, the writer was saying, hey, make the race of aliens more Asian?
That could be.
Like, where is the weird directing choice coming from to make them clearly East African? And so heavy-handed and so inappropriately racist.
I am really fascinated to know more of the backstory of this actual episode, given that the director was replaced.
Yeah.
And why, if the point was, let's say mid-filming, I don't know. You can maybe speculate.
Yeah.
Like the direction that the episode was going. Maybe they're like, you need to pull back from whatever it is you're doing. And then he didn't want to, and then they fired him, and they put on Les Landau, who I think went on to direct a lot of Star Trek.
Sure.
And they still ran the episode. I mean, it was the 80s, so I guess stuff was...
Well, it's weird. I mean, you look back in the 80s, and there's a lot of cultural misappropriation going
Yeah,
on
sure.
back then.
Yeah.
There's a lot of, like, upper middle upper class white yuppies who are, like, taking trips to Africa and coming back with, like, tribal masks.
Yeah.
Putting them up in their condos.
Yeah.
And this is sort of like the Star Trek equivalent of that. Where it's
Right,
like, hey,
right.
listen, it's nice that you had a vacation, but you shouldn't be displaying this stuff because you're white. Yeah.
Right. This, it has some really,
This is not your culture.
some really gnarly.
So,
Yeah, this isn't. Yeah, this isn't some prize that you brought
yeah.
home.
Ugh.
Yeah, it's read history books, people. So, anyways, Picard gives him a horse, like a little Chinese the Sung Dynasty horse thing, and he says, "This is from a culture that we really respect, and we want to give it to you." Lutan delivers this little speech about demanding respect. Picard then gives him an ovation. Picard is overdoing the whole whining and dining thing. He's like clapping at everything Lutan is saying. He's like, "I'm so glad we're friends." Lutan says, "Wow, I'm surrounded by friendship. My guards, they can leave, they can go." And then he asks to see a holodeck. And he says, "Because I understand that you guys have some like cool martial arts programs to like train your soldiers."
Yeah.
And he specifically requests that Tasha Yar give him a demonstration. Riker immediately seems annoyed by this and says, "Yeah, we noticed that you're really into her." Why would you say that?
It's a bit inappropriate.
Why
aggressive.
didn't Picard immediately be like, "Riker, shut up.
Yeah.
If he wants a demonstration, give him a demonstration. Let Tasha do that.
Like, just be cool, Riker.
Just be cool." But he's like just sitting there like, "Yeah, I noticed you've been staring at her."
Yeah.
Why would anybody do that? Anyways, Tasha Yar says, "I'd be happy to do that. Totally cool with it." They go into like a really small holodeck. I had not seen this small holodeck before. Maybe this is
They're
one of the
still working out the kinks of how they wanted to portray the holodeck.
Yeah,
Clearly.
I think so. She loads up martial arts program, which is simply a blue mat and a guy, like a jiu-jitsu guy of some sort.
I think she just says like it's Aikido 1.
Okay,
Just
there
load up
you go,
Aikido
yeah.
1.
Yeah.
It's just the most fundamentally basic program.
Right,
ever.
exactly. And then it even generates a little gi for her, like a little suit. So she puts on the jacket, loads up her white belt, ties it up, and then she demonstrates. She tosses the guy around a little bit, and Lutan's like, "Oh, whoa, that's really cool. You can do that." And then I think Lutan's buddy tries it, and he gets checked even by the holodeck guy.
Yeah.
So Lieutenant Hagar, whatever his name is, his training is not up to par. Lutan continues to make sort of lovey-dovey eyes at Tasha Yar. Said that he really likes her. Picard, then they're back in wherever they are, in the cargo room or something like that. He says, "Okay, well, we really like you guys. You're cool. We hope that we impressed you." And the Lutan says, "Yes, we are very impressed. We're going to see you later." And then he like holds on to Tasha Yar, and they all just beam away. And like Picard's like, "Go to red alert! Go to red alert!" I'm like, hold on a second. 2 episodes ago, when Q was literally building a wall in front of your ship,
Yeah.
you demanded they go to yellow alert, not red alert. And now this dude just stole off with your girl. They have no ships again. I'm pretty sure they're a pre-warp civilization.
It definitely seems that way. They do not seem like the kind of civilization that Starfleet should be dealing with.
No, they really don't.
Yeah.
But they go to red alert, and then they fire some like warning shots over the planet. And then Data just talks too much again. Every time Data says something that indicates he doesn't know how humans talk or think or act, I make note of it.
Yeah.
A day later,
They wait an entire day. They have a brief discussion where they're like, where it comes to light that this is a kind of thing that the thing that Ligonians do for some reason. This is sort of considered honorable in their culture.
Yeah.
So they're like, okay, let's hold back a bit and not make any moves and give them a day.
Right.
Let's wait 24 hours while they have our chief of security in custody without provocation or reason, and we'll figure it out later.
If I'm Tasha Yar, I'm down there thinking to myself, what the hell are they waiting for?
Yeah.
Like, I don't know what they're going to do to me. So anyways, after that, Picard takes a meeting with Crusher, and they establish that the vaccine cannot be replicated. They cannot just do it themselves with their little sample.
Crusher tried to replicate the vaccine, and it failed.
Right.
So.
Then they share a little moment about death. And I forget exactly what it entails, but she says something along the lines of, "It must be easy for you to sit there when you haven't seen a lot of death. meaning that Crusher, as a doctor, has to deal with it on a daily basis.
Sure. But also the implication being her husband died.
And Picard points that out, and he says, I've dealt with death my fair share, and you know this.
Yeah.
And it gets kind of awkward
It
because
was uncomfortable.
she does know that
Sure.
because he died under like Picard's kind of command or whatever it was. And she doesn't bear any ill will towards his comments. She's like, yeah, I get you. I understand. And then she starts talking about Wes. She says, by the way, Wes is here. He's in the turbo lift. He's not on the bridge. He's just on the turbo lift, but he's there. Picard's like, all right, let's just get this over with. They go out to the bridge. Wes is nowhere to be found. You kind of see his hand poking out. He's like sort of hiding in the turbo lift.
He just sort of leans in.
Right.
Like, hey, it's me.
Hey, it's me. Hi. And Picard's like, what time are you in school exactly?
Yeah.
So anyways, he's like, come on over here. Hang out at Ops. You can take Ops and hang out there. Troy has some info about Lutan's people that she divulges. Somehow that turns into Data talking crap about the French language. And Picard gets all like friggin' butthurt about this. He's like offended. He's like, the French language is known for being civilized.
Data calls the language of French obscure. He says,
Right.
it's from an obscure language, an obscure Earth language called French.
Yeah.
And this was still one of the in the early part of the first season. They're still trying to drive home that Jean-Luc Picard is French,
And
even though he's being portrayed by
yeah.
an English actor.
Yeah.
That he's very pro-France
Right.
and pro-France history. And it's not something that they really drove home throughout the rest of the series. They sort of let it go at some point.
Yeah.
But this is still, they're still trying to find their footing, and they're still like, they'd have moments where Patrick Stewart as Jean-Luc Picard would have weird divergences where he's like, oh, France is amazing.
Like, I'm surprised
France
they
is
didn't
the
give him like a
best, yeah.
beret.
Yeah.
And have him come in with a baguette.
A really thin mustache.
Right, exactly. You go, ho, ho, ho. Anyways. Let's see here. Anyways, during this scene also, they kind of mentioned what you had mentioned earlier, that Lutan did this as a way to establish to his people that he is crafty and honorable, and it's essentially stealing a prize from a more powerful individual or group or whatever. And so he took it as a sign of his heroism. Lutan dials up the Enterprise, and the staff tells Picard, you need to go down there and apologize and basically get on your hands and knees, metaphorically, and ask for Tasha Yar back. Now Lutan has gotten what he's wanted. It'll be a sign of respect for you to acknowledge that and politely rather, ask for Tasha Yar back.
Yeah.
So begrudgingly he says, okay. He goes down to the planet. Riker's not huge on that because Riker is a big guy who says,
Well, Riker, see, this is one of the, and I don't want to dwell, like we said, on the problematic issues, but this is contextually problematic because they just had a discourse wherein everybody agrees that what Lutan did within the context of Ligonian customs is honorable. Taking Yar was an honorable and almost complimentary thing.
Right.
That he did, and Riker immediately calls Lutan devious.
Yeah.
Which is just contextually, I mean, that outside of all the whole thing about, making these characters black when it wasn't necessary and giving them clumsy East African accents and cultural things, within the context of the story here is racist and culturally insensitive.
Yeah.
Riker saying, oh, wait, yeah, I just listened to you say that this is a thing that they do. We need something from them. Wait a second. No. This is devious.
Yeah.
He's done a bad thing.
Yeah.
Even though we just said that this is something within their culture is acceptable and also complimentary.
Yeah, Riker's not looking at it from the perspective of, oh, this is a different set of rules that we have to respect. Yeah. This is like, no, I'm not cool with this, therefore nobody should be cool with it.
Yeah.
It's like the worst form of it, yeah. So anyways, Picard and Troy beam down. Lutan introduces Picard to his first wife, Yarina. Why? I mean, this is sort of a weird thing, but Tasha Yar, and then his
Yarina.
wife's name is Yarina.
It's a weird choice.
And it's kind of a weird choice. Anyways, Picard insists on seeing Lieutenant Yar. This kind of bugs Lieutenant, but he's like, all right, whatever. Lieutenant lectures Picard about honor. Lieutenant then says, we have a whole big buffet meal planned for the return of Tasha Yar to you. Then we go, we see that. There's like a juggler there. There's like some musicians doing some like music stick type things. People are eating some food. It looks like a decent spread. Picard then eventually stands up, big grandiose manner. He formally asks for the return of Tasha Yar. Lieutenant pulls a swerve at this point and says, I love Tasha Yar. I don't want to give her up. Everybody gasps at this because they're like, whoa, hold on a second. And he says, and then Yarina, the wife, stands up and says, I challenge you to a fight to the death to Tasha Yar.
To Tasha Yar.
This gets blown out immediately.
It escalates quickly.
Very quickly, exactly. Picard says, no, that's not going to happen. Lieutenant says, screw you, this is not your planet.
Yeah.
Essentially. Then we get a Riker's log. He looks stressed. Yar is in her room stretching before her big death fight. Troy, in a little kind of a dick manipulative move, says that, basically, Tasha, admit it, you like Lutan, you like that he likes you.
Yeah.
And then Tasha says, yeah, he's an attractive male. He's like, because Lutan's like an alpha male, you know. She's like, I'm into that. And I am kind of... And then Picard gives her a weird look like, oh, you just expose yourself as being into this. And then Tasha Yar says, oh, Troy, you tricked me.
Yeah.
It was an awkward little character moment. I don't know, this is kind of weird. But anyways, Troy brings up the Prime Directive and how they shouldn't break it, although being...
It's such a stupid thing to bring up at this point because they've already blown the Prime Directive to hell in this episode.
Right, exactly.
Like, the way that this should have been handled, and this, for all intents and purposes, seems to be a sub-warp technology.
Yeah.
They just have a vaccine that they need. How this should be handled is that Starfleet is observing this culture from afar. Mm-hmm. They understand the cultural, marcations and limitations that are existing, and they sort of sit behind. They have a ship stationed behind a moon or something like that.
Right.
It can't be observed. They beam down people made up to look like that members of that culture that infiltrate it to try to get the vaccine over a long period of time.
Right, exactly, yeah.
But don't infiltrate and don't say, oh, we're space people.
Yeah.
And they don't, sort of blow the culture to hell.
Yeah, exactly.
It's much more subtle and much more sort of like a secret operative kind of thing, as opposed to this very overhanded thing that's happening. So for them to be so deep into this overhanded, blown to hell thing, and Troy immediately to then for Troy to have to
invoke the Prime Directive
is totally nonsensical.
Right.
It's totally nonsensical.
Yeah. Tasha Yar wants to fight.
Sure.
She's like, I want to do this. I mean, the implication is this is a death fight.
Yeah.
And Tasha Yar is like, before there's a plan in place to ensure that nobody actually dies, which one poor sap does. Before there's a plan in place, Tasha Yar's like, I want to go down to the surface. We met these people to get a vaccine. I want to come out of it with a body count. I want to kill this person for challenging me to a fight. Immediately. Yeah. There is no, hey, how can we diplomatically get out of this without compromising the cultural sensitivities that we have to deal with here? No, it's this woman wants to fight me. I want to put her down.
Yeah.
And so that's Tasha Yar. The plague is reportedly getting worse, so the pressure is on. Troy also advocates for Tasha Yar fighting Yarina as part of the Prime Directive. This is part of their culture, so they should do it. Picard's going to go back and talk to Lutan again. He rolls up on Lutan, talking to his second in command, Hagar, whatever his name is.
I looked it up. It's Hagan.
Oh, Hagan. Okay.
Hagan.
Picard rolls up, and he tries to kind of sweet talk Lutan. He's got his diplomatic, let's keep it real talk voice going. It's accidentally revealed because Picard says, Lutan, you're a man of great power and wealth. And then Hagan says, well, he's got a lot of power, but he doesn't exactly have a lot of... And then Lutan's like, hey,
yeah.
stop. Don't don't say that. And Picard's like, oh, okay. So the women actually not just control the land, metaphor, they actually own the land. It's their land. And so Lutan, his wealth comes from Yarina. And so Picard realizes, so if Yar wins and kills Yarina, that land, I think, is then transferred to Lutan. So then he gets the wealth. And he gets, seemingly, Tasha Yar.
Yeah.
If Tasha Yar dies, no harm, no foul. He's still in the position that he's in. And he's very gleeful about this fact. That, hey, now I'm in a position where somebody's going to die, and I'm going to profit regardless. And he's kind of tickled by it.
Yeah.
Which is really kind of gross.
I mean, at this point, if Riker called Lutan devious, that'd be
Right,
appropriate.
yeah, exactly, yeah. Yeah, Riker's kind of been proven right at this point.
Yeah.
So next we get kind of a fun scene where Geordi is shaving. Not over a sink, mind you. He's just
in
shaving.
the living room of his quarters.
He's in his living room.
With his visor off, which seems weird.
Right, you think he'd want to see what you're doing.
Yeah.
But I'm sure he's got years and years of experience with this. Data comes in. He immediately kind of whines because Data's not using the razor that apparently he rigged
LaForge
for
is
him.
not using the razor that Data rigged for him to be precise within
Right.
essentially an indiscriminate
Right.
infinitesimal amount.
Right, exactly.
And Geordi's like, no, shaving's an art form.
And he kind of rubs the humanity aspect of
Yeah.
like shaving in Data's face. He's like, well, being human, I appreciate the eccentricities
Yeah.
of the human experience of shaving, Data. And that nice act that you did did for me, making this razor, means jack all.
Yeah.
Okay? I'm using this other weird looking razor that's just like a blue light.
A weird laser razor.
Like it's
laser razor.
Yeah,
If
yeah.
they had those, that'd be cool. I might start shaving.
That'd be pretty neat. I don't really need a shave. Let's see here. Data. Oh, yeah. And this is kind of cute. Data has a joke for Geordi. Data's been testing out his jokes on Geordi. And Geordi's like, I don't want to hear another one. Your jokes are crap. Data tells it terribly. But then Data has kind of a slip of the tongue.
Which doesn't make sense, but
It doesn't make any sense. But that legitimately makes Geordi laugh.
yes.
Data is confused by that. And possibly also kind of hurt. Anyways, Riker breaks up this particular party and tells them to get down to the surface. Data and Geordi beam down. Picard tasks them with learning about the weapons that are going to be in play at this death match. So they're like, okay, we'll take a look and see what we got. Data somehow misreads this as a joke, though. He's like, is this a human joke number 631? What joke is this? What joke is he talking
It's
about?
a serious situation.
Anyways, they wax on the Prime Directive. Picard basically is giving a speech, and he kind of catches himself on it. It's a decent little moment. Yarina meets with Yar. Yarina says everybody loves Lutan, or every woman loves Lutan, so everybody wants to be with him, and I'm gonna kill you. Tasha Yar's like, look, you're not gonna be able to handle me. I'm gonna murder you. And Yarina's like, you don't know what I can do. Picard meets up with Troy and Data. Picard meets up with Troy, Data, and Geordi, and they reveal that the weapons are laced with a certain type of poison.
They say it's a light
Alkaline?
alkaline.
Is that what it is? Okay.
Alkaloid-based poison.
Okay,
on
there
the
you go.
weapons.
Okay.
And Data specifies that the weapons are light so women can use them,
Yeah.
which is come on. Women can use heavy weapons.
Why is heavy weapons,
why
man?
does that have to be specified? It's not. Ugh.
Is it like light? Is it like how much lighter is than like a normal weapon? I don't know. Anyways, Tasha Yar comes in. Picard makes sure she's good to go. Out in the courtyard, they give Tasha Yar her weapons. It's like a gauntlet with like a big spiked ball, and all the spikes have poison.
And then like
on
a
it.
beak-like hook too.
Right, yeah. And then they look down at like the little fight area, which kind of looks like a jungle gym for kids.
Yeah.
Bunch of like little light poles and then some metal bars and stuff. And Yarina's out there sort of practicing, so they all get a sense of how this is going to go down. Data briefs Riker on Picard's plan. He does it kind of off camera. He's like, no, Riker has a plan. He has a plan, so this is not going to be too hardcore. Yar has her gauntlet on. It's pretty hardcore. the fighting begins. It's on some monkey bar, like I said, and they're sort of...
It does look like a jungle gym.
Yeah, it's a
with,
jungle
like,
gym type thing.
with like green laser lights.
Yeah.
Shooting up to the sky.
At one point, the gauntlet, I think from Yarina, goes flying off and land comedically.
Lands in the lap of a Ligonian guy.
Right.
Who's sitting like front.
You don't
front
want to
row.
be in the front row.
Yeah.
You don't want to be in the front row, and this
His
guy...
reaction is very comedic because he should understand that it's coated with
Yeah.
essentially an instantly killing poison.
Yeah, exactly.
But he just lands on his lap and he's like,
He kind of is like, oh, cool. It's like the guy who gets to catch John Cena's shirt at the beginning of a match.
Yeah.
You know, and he's like, oh, okay, cool. And
Yeah.
then they take it away, and there's a close up, and he's got 2 big bloody marks right here. He doesn't even that would be like, ow, you know?
Yeah.
And then, fuck, I'm dead. But he's like, oh, okay. And then he pulled it away, it's bleeding, and then
he's dead instantly.
he's dead. They don't, spoiler alert, the plan is, whoever Tasha Yar, if she gets hit, she gets beamed up to sickbay. If Yarina gets hit, Tasha Yar is going to get on top of her and beam her up to sickbay.
Yeah, that's the plan.
I mean, this guy, he's just a poor sap. There was no way to save him.
Yeah.
I kind of wish that somebody had been like, hey, get this guy, beam him out of here.
Yeah, take care of
But
that guy, too.
that would expose their thing. So, anyways, Hagen is noted as showing a little bit of extra emotion for Yarina.
Yeah.
He's like, oh, be careful. You know?
Yeah, you're gonna watch yourself.
Yeah, he's got a thing. Lutan's like, why are you saying
Yeah,
that?
what's going on there?
And then Yar tags Yarina with the gauntlet. So she's done. She's dead.
She goes down.
Yar jumps on top of her. They beam away. Crusher, Riker, and Data are all white. They're at the teleporter. They're all waiting there. Riker tells Crusher, go do it! Like she's not going to. Anyway, she goes there, administers an antidote. Tasha Yar's freaking out. She's like, she's already cold. Lutan, down on the surface, then says, okay, you can beam the vaccine up. Now that this is all taken care of. Picard beams up Lutan and Hagen as well. And Lutan's like, whoa, why'd you do that? They go to the lounge, see Yarina's fine. Lutan freaks out.
Yep.
And they are all like, no. You saw her die. We all have the medical records. We can show you that she did in fact die.
Yeah.
And so Yarina says, this means this marriage is now annulled. Our marriage has been, it's finite. It's done with. And she takes Hagen as her new first. She's like, the implication there's something going on the side there.
Definitely.
And this is something that, worked out to her favor. And she takes Lutan as her own number 2 after she offered Lutan to Tasha Yar, who says no, because there would be complications. Because she's like, Starfleet officer. He's not going to just be on the Enterprise the whole time as her husband. That's the... Oh, and then Wesley, still at ops.
For no reason.
For no reason. And Riker is even like, oh, God, I'm sorry. I forgot he was there. I'll get rid of him.
Yeah.
And Picard's like, okay, well, Wesley, we'll get you more time on the fucking bridge of the flagship Enterprise. There are plenty of other lower officers
Yeah.
who could benefit from that time in a command position, observing the senior staff doing what they do best. And instead, Picard's like, Wes, we'll get you up here. You could theoretically fly the ship into a star from that position, but we'll let you do that.
The 15-year-old kid.
Yeah.
Should be in school.
Yeah, exactly. So, a real goofy episode.
It's a problematic episode.
And it's a bad one.
It's, yeah. I mean, just even if you jettison all the horrible racist and cultural insensitivity issues, I mean, how can you? But even if you do that, contextually and out of context, it's still, they are essentially violating the Prime Directive at every step of the way. They're using their science to interfere with what definitely seems to be a sub-warp technology.
Yeah. And
in the most heavy-handed fashion.
And when you're dealing with issues of honor deaths, obviously it's a big part of their culture for them to just on a whim say, hey, I challenge you to death, and then to bring somebody back from death. Yeah. I don't know how that's gonna mess with their...
Who even knows how that's gonna pan out once Yarina and Hagon and Lutan go back to the
Yeah,
planet.
yeah.
And everybody who was in the arena saw Yarina die.
Yeah, and Lutan's like a super powerful guy
Yeah.
in their culture, in their political system, in their society. And now he's a number 2 all of a sudden. She
It
died,
seems
but
like
she's...
as the Enterprise is sort of happily going on their way
Right.
with Wesley at Khan,
Yeah.
that there's going to be like some serious coup and mutilation and horrible
There's gonna
things
be-
happening
yeah.
on the planet, and the Enterprise is just like, oh, we got our vaccine, we're good.
At the very least, there's going to be an intense power struggle.
Yeah, like they're just flying away, and like Picard flips a match, and the entire planet just burns. Like they're like, we're good.
Exactly, yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Oh boy,
that's Code of Honor. I'm kind of happy we got through that episode.
it's a rough one. It might
yeah.
be the worst episode of the Next Generation for a couple reasons.
It would be hard pressed for me to come up with a worse episode.
Yeah.
A more uncomfortable episode.
I always want to say something positive
Yeah.
about every episode.
Okay, yeah.
I will say that I thought that Jesse Lawrence Ferguson, who plays Lutan, his performance, for what he had to work with was good. He's a good actor. I like him. He's in one of my favorite John Carpenter movies, Prince of Darkness.
Okay, all right.
So maybe watch Prince of Darkness.
It's
Possibly instead of this episode, if you like 80s horror movies.
it's easy to pile on the episode, and because the actors are carrying out, they're just doing their job.
They're doing their job. Everybody does a good job.
Yeah, they all do a good
performance-wise.
job performance wise. So I'm glad you mentioned that.
Yeah.
And that shouldn't be left unsaid. So yeah, but it is kind of interesting. I am kind of curious. To
There
see if
were
there's...
decisions made
Yeah.
that were unfortunate at best.
Right. Yeah.
There were some missteps made.
Yeah.
And we are just sort of left to conjecture to try to figure out what those motivations were. Who knows?
Yeah. Exactly.
But it ends up being a very unfortunate episode overall,
Mm-hmm.
and everybody sort of recognizes that. As Steve said at the top of the episode here, all the actors, Frakes and Will Wheaton and everybody else. Yeah, it's unfortunate.
yeah. Absolutely.
But fortunately, it's not indicative of Star Trek. So
Yeah, no, exactly. Yeah, I mean that's why it stands out so much
Yeah.
because Star Trek obviously was sort of the benchmark for socially aware science fiction commentary.
Yeah.
And so it is kind of weird that they took this route this early in the series. And it's kind of interesting that Gene Roddenberry didn't. I mean, I don't know. I don't know what the situation was. If he was like the guy who was like, wait, they're doing what with who?
yeah,
Get that guy out of here.
you got to figure that there's so many moving parts that he can't be in control of everything.
Right,
At all
exactly,
times.
yeah.
It's impossible.
Yeah.
So.
Absolutely.
And it seems like they stepped in at some point and said, well, we got to make some changes here.
Yeah, and just we have what we have, and let's keep going.
Yeah.
So, anyways, that's it for this episode of the Four Lights Podcast. Let us know what you guys think. We got to make a Twitter account or something. So you're anti-Twitter. You're not going to do the Twitters.
I'm on Twitter. I recall my Twitter handle now. I don't tweet much.
Okay.
It's Jeff Actual.
Okay, I'll just put it right here or something at the beginning of the episode. I'll do it in the little Star
If you
Trek
guys
font.
start tweeting at me,
Yeah.
maybe I'll start being on Twitter.
Well,
I
there you
guess.
go. See, I mean, look, Twitter, social media can be a cesspool. It can also be a very positive community experience.
Yeah.
So maybe open yourself up to it. Send Jeff your tweets. Send me your tweets, of course, at MFSteve here. Maybe we'll get a Twitter account for the Four Lights Podcast. Maybe we'll do that. Let us know what you guys think in the comments on the YouTube also. And until next time, we'll talk to you guys later.